For like the standard suit, how long did it take to get in and out?
It was all the same suit.
Oh, okay.
On a hanger, it's about this big. And then it's
Boom! Welcome, friends and fans, to another episode of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we will slam evil with two amazing guests, and now's the time for all of you in our chat room to begin typing in your questions for them. Because today, we are talking about The Phantom. Based on Lee Falk's classic adventure series, The Phantom movie was released in 1996, directed by Simon Windsor with a script by the late Jeffrey Boehm, featuring a brilliant cast, including Treat Williams, James Remar, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Cary Hiroki Tagawa, and of course, the great Patrick McGoohan. Over the years, the film has found its audience and is now considered by many to be one of the finest and perhaps the most undervalued superhero film adaptation, due in no small part to its lead actors. So without further ado, let's bring them out. Our first guest, she is an actress whose body of work includes Deadly Friend, Flowers in the Attic, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Today, she joins us to discuss all that and the role of Diana Palmer. Please welcome Kristy Swanson.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
I think everybody is doing well. It's a new year, and we have new optimism and many things on the horizon to look forward to.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kristy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, doing very good. It's a nice day today, and it's chill. Family is home, and everybody's happy, so everything's good.
Good is the new amazing and awesome in these crazy times. So, and let our audience know, our other guest is having some technical difficulties. He will join us in the moment. In the meantime, I'm going to take full advantage of this opportunity to talk to you, Kristy, about some of your other bodies of work. You have had the opportunity, you've worked with some of my all-time favorite directors, John Hughes, Wes Craven, Joss Whedon. So, real quick, I would love to hear about your experiences with them. And I think we should start with John Hughes, because I believe he specifically wrote a part for you for Ferris Bueller. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. Well, he passed it on to me, I think, is how it worked out. I mean, I auditioned for the film in Los Angeles, and I got this role of this girl that was to be on the phone in the school, I don't know who ended up doing the part, but I had gotten that role, and he called me and he said, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. And I was like, okay. He goes, the bad news is that I had to, because we're shooting in LA and in Chicago, I had to shoot that scene in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So the good news is that I have a new role for you. I'm going to send it over. And so I received this page of dialogue, which was Simone in the classroom. And so I ended up doing that role. And that was very challenging to learn. It was a mouthful of dialogue, for sure.
All that and then some. And but again, just that's just one of those movies that for our generation is certainly resonates with us. And yeah, just there's
still plays today. My son loves the movie, so it's a great movie, and he was so great to work with. I really enjoyed working with him.
Absolutely. It's his talent is missed, as is, of course, Wes Craven, who is also no longer with us, but also left us a tremendous body of work. Deadly Friends, based on the book Friends, as you told me beforehand, which I did not know. Tell us about that, because again, that's not as touted as often as Wes Craven's other works, but I've always found it to be undervalued. And when people do discover it, they always turn around and say, that was not what I expected.
Yeah, well, from my understanding, it was that Wes was trying to do something new that year, or he was, sort of dabbling with different things. He was actually slated to direct Flowers in the Attic. So he was trying to get into this psychological thriller sort of genre at the time, and not horror per se.
Yeah.
And so he had signed on to do this film called Friend, and it was like a psychological thriller, sort of Bride of Frankenstein, sort of, you know, just very different from horror. So about, I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks into filming, the studio decided to change the name, you know, of the movie is now Deadly Friend, and they wanted all this horror and blood and different things in it.
Mm.
And everyone was kind of like, that's not really what we signed up for. I remember my parents being really upset because they were like, wait, that's not the movie we were going to do. And so it was a little challenging because, you know, still had to persevere through and do the film and get it done and all that stuff. But it certainly, it's not the way that it was intended to be. And it, you know, went through a change. I think that maybe the studio felt like, how are we going to sell this? This is Wes Craven. We need to put some blood in it. I don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, again, studios notoriously, of course, you know, they don't appreciate when they, you know, they may have a jewel and they try to sell it like a precious metal, which actually brings us to the Phantom, which to me, I've always felt like I again, it was interesting time. The superhero films, the Batman era had faded out. This was before the Marvel Revolution and Iron Man, so it kind of gone fallow. And then the Phantom comes around. So how did it develop for you?
Well, the Phantom was just, you know, I had gone in to audition for it basically. And then, you know, then you get a call back and then you get another call back and another. And then it got to the point where they wanted to do screen tests with all the actors of their, you know, their short list of who they wanted in the film and to see who, you know, matched up best with everyone. I think even Catherine Zeta might have, I don't know if it's Zeta or Zeta, but I think she actually auditioned for both the part I played and the other girl that I forget her character's name. I'm so sorry. It was so long ago. But I remember I'm pretty sure she had done a screen test for both. But it, you know, that's kind of how they, you know, cast the film, you know, was just, you know, a formal screen test with the studio. And that was a fun movie because it was, even though it wasn't like huge in the box office and, you know, it's not necessarily everybody's favorite or anything like that. It's one of my favorites simply for the adventure, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, we shot in LA, we shot in Thailand, we were in the jungle, and I met my best friend still today, my stunt double, Heather Burton Gibson, and so I just have a lot of fond memories, and it was just a great experience. And we were in Australia as well, and so, you know, it was definitely great. I don't know. I think that people maybe didn't know who the Phantom was. I think that it was in America, it was just not as popular, and it was in Sweden and it was in Australia.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who the Phantom was, and I just don't think people were as well versed in that comic as other countries. So
The Phantom being a comic strip character, and comic strips had definitely begun to wane by that time period going around. So unless you were a geek like I was, certainly back at the time, there was not a lot of public awareness. And yes, you're right. The Phantom is the equivalent of what Batman is in American culture in Australia and overseas and several European countries. And yes, it is adored. But
so much so that they call it the ghost who walks. You know, they know exactly what you're talking about. You say the ghost who walks. You know,
indeed.
But,
and speaking of the ghost who walks, just got the word.
We have him?
Yes, he is an actor whose credits include Dead Calm, Twin Peaks, and a charming little romantic movie called Titanic. Today, though, he joins us to discuss the role of Kit Walker, a.k.a. the Ghost Who Walks, a.k.a. the 21st Phantom. Please welcome Mr. Billy Zane.
Greetings. Hello, friends.
Hey.
Hello.
How you doing today, boss?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
No, lovely to be here. Just made it. Greetings from the South Pacific, which is very Phantom-esque, I have to say. Just arrived on a tiny atoll. I could show you what's going on outside there.
Oh my goodness.
We're on the Brando island in Tetiaroa, which is pretty insane. little outrigger
awesome.
paddle behind me.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Hey, Kristy, looking great.
Thanks, hon.
So Billy, we were just talking. I just asked Kristy how the Phantom basically began for her. I'd love for the audience to find out the same as you. When did Phantom first blip on your radar?
Through the comics while I was in Australia filming Dead Calm and then Sniper we shot there. I was just amazed by how popular the character was and how available this this comic was. Reissues were at every newsstand, and it, along with buying your I guess you'd see grown men, women, kids of all ages would buy their newspaper or their cigarettes or their gum or whatnot, and the latest Phantom mag. It was just a given. It was so embedded within the culture. I was fascinated by that, and then started reading them and just really was hooked with the character and how accessible and interesting and noble he was. So that was my introduction to the character. My introduction to, were you talking about the film involvement or where?
Well, like from the beginning, no, it's great that you're a
both.
fan. Moving into it. Yeah,
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, around the time we were doing Sniper, they were talking about making the film in Australia with an Australian production company predominantly, and I expressed interest, of course, but it just it didn't come together then for them, which was good because I was kind of building my, I don't know, resume and muscles. I was a kind of a bean at the time. I went, oh crikeys, I better put on some mass. It was like a rugby player. I thought I put on some weight, and lo and behold, it came back around. But by this time, I'd known the character so intimately. He wasn't as well known per se by some stalwart fans in Hollywood, I'd say, but I just happened to know a lot about the character.
Yeah.
And by the time a screen test came around, I was living and breathing it. It was like second nature. I loved his body language and the positions and his little sense of humor, and I was doing a lot of push-ups at the time. It worked out.
Well,
protein shakes.
And protein shakes.
It definitely showed because unlike other actors that have played superhero characters, I'm pretty convinced that was mostly you in that outfit.
Yeah, there was talk of a muscle suit, a foam suit, but I vehemently objected. I thought, he's a naturalist hero. There's no tech in the jungle, and how it just seemed like a cheat. And I thought he's as much Tarzan as he is happy Batman, and no issues Batman. Even though there's a long line of grounds for vengeance, doesn't have an axe to grind. It's part of the job.
It is the family business.
I can't even imagine if they had done it that way with like a puffy suit. Like that
Right.
wouldn't have worked just because of the elements we were in. I mean, we were in such extreme heat in the jungle, and I was uncomfortable enough in my wool clothes from the 30s. I could not imagine if you were in a suit like that. That wouldn't have made sense.
It would have been sticky, to say the least. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I pitied, as gorgeous as your stuff was by the very talented Miss Stewart, I was,
yes,
I knew that there were, there was thread count in there and mighty woolens in the
and
tie,
corsets and
jungle.
God, boots. Oh yeah.
You look
but you made it absolutely dashing heroine.
I'd say.
Thank you.
I mean, absolutely. So, and again, this goes back to what I think is so wonderful about the movie is that the tremendous conviction, both from your performances and the art direction, the costuming. And there's no snark, there was no wink into the camera. Everything was honest. And I think that's just like so much of the effervescence of the film, which is enabled it, as I told you in the introduction. The film has found its audience, and it took a while. And I think now, again, when I speak on comic history and comic adaptations, people often realize that The Phantom is easily in the top 3 of their lists of best comic strip adaptations when you look at it in a totality. So it's definitely up there. And again, hard work of you and all your peers. And what a tremendous cast. Again, I just, Treat Williams, a wonderful villain. Absolutely wonderful guys, put it up too. And of course, I'm a big Patrick McGoohan fan, so I envy you for being able to share the screen with him.
Yeah, Pat McGoohan was my dad. That was like, that was a huge, when I heard that casting, I was so excited. Huge fan of The Prisoner. And let's not forget Catherine Zeta, who just crushes it.
Yes.
Solid, man.
Just
what an entrance on, on that plane. I just remember how she unhooked her helmet and then
and the hair falling perfectly. I remember that. Yeah. How do we do this? Yeah, it was awesome. Get a good look.
They absolutely aviatrix and James Remar he played a wonderful heavy in it too. I mean, it's just go away too. What's let me ask you both of you this. What's been your favorite memory that you've taken away from your involvement in the Phantom?
Go ahead, hon.
Oh, well, I was talking about that a little earlier before you got here, and that, one of because The Phantom's one of my favorite films emotionally, because it was such an adventure, and I still have friends to this day with, Heather Burton Gibson, who was my double, is still like, we're best friends. And so I appreciate a lot of the great relationships that came out of that film, and the adventure, being in the jungle and literally in the middle of nowhere. It was just such a fun, amazing, great experience. And then, being there to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, civilization, please. And when you get to fly to Australia and you're kissing the ground and you're like, can I just have a toasted sandwich? You know what I mean? I'm so hungry. I've been eating tuna fish and peanut butter jelly, so it was just such a great, fun experience. So that's my thing.
It's a damn good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In-camera effects, in-camera action. It's in-camera everything. That's what I remember. And I miss. I love, the stagecraft that we're playing with today and the unique ability to go, full Mandalorian,
Everything immersive. We did was real.
Yeah.
It was real special effects, I mean, there was some stuff that we had to do that was green screen and a little put in here or there, but just the fighting, all the fights and everything, none of that was green, none of that was CGI.
Dangling, we had stuntmen hanging from pontoons of flying seaplanes at elevation, at speed.
Yep.
I dove off the seaplane on landing, thinking I was going to go perpendicular into the wave like that, like the physics of that wouldn't torque my body, and of course it did. I was like, oh, that's, you find things out. We went through a lot of suits. There was always a lot of like, I just remember cutting them and bleeding, just, made me think about, question the rubber suit idea, but I just remember catching it on, old truck, the truck fight on the bridge was just, if there was possibly another sharp, weird piece of metal that could, snag you, it found me. But it felt good. The strain in the face was, was real. We got a horse and a wolf to run together on, in frame together, and a biplane pass overhead. I remember that shot. They were really chuffed when they were able to capture those 3 elements live in frame. That was special.
That was cool.
Trained wolf, which is never a real thing. They're just absolutely savage, wonderful beast, but and a horse within meters of each other, hoofing it, and a plane, seaplane in time. That was magic.
Oh, so I assume there were probably various degrees of Phantom costumes for the shots and stuff like that. So for like the standard suit, how long did it take to get in and out?
It was all the same suit.
Oh, okay.
It on a hanger, it's about this big. And then it stretches. It's like someone handed it. Like, I'm sorry. And here's your costume. It's like whoop. It goes literally. It's a camisole or whatever the hell you want to call it.
I think the Phantom, that was the first introduction to Spanx.
It fits. So it was just that. We went through variations on the overprint, which was a great, I think, extension. I think we foresaw the, advent of, the love of ink was really taking off in the early 90s. A lot more people were down to like getting sleeves before the big sleeve craze, or even the Polynesian adoption of that kind of tattooing. Our customer had the foresight to see this trend and thought, let's go with tribal tat overprint across the whole thing, and subtle enough to be keep a little bit of edge and break up the purple kind of canvas, but rooted in ancient design, just applied in a very cool way that was justifiable. It was pretty cool.
It was when I noticed it in the blow up pictures and like Starlog and stuff. It was a great cinematic affectation. It certainly was. And yeah, it was a beautiful design. Lee Falk visited the set. What was your experience with him?
Do you spend time with him, Kristy?
I did meet him. Wait, did he came to Australia though?
Yeah.
Like he didn't come to Thailand.
No, he was in the Pirate Cave set.
That's right. Stages. That was really cool to be able to meet him and hang out with him. I mean, I didn't spend as much time with him as you did, and it was great that he could be there and do, be in the EPK and do the interviews and see this whole thing come to life. I mean, it was really special. I always like meeting the creators, I appreciate
look at that dashing fella. You can see him as a young man, like, that bone structure doesn't lie. He was the Phantom, and Mandrake. I think he put himself into those characters. Handsome devil, lovely, lovely man.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife, Elizabeth, genius. Yes. We stayed in touch afterwards, wonderful director, directed quite a bit of theater.
Yes, he did.
Was just a great partner and, really managed the estate quite well with him, and they both were just absolutely dear, and getting his seal of approval was really important to me, and then to hear that the fans felt it authentic as a whole, that we all were really pleased that it resonated, purely because I think everyone involved really loved the core material. And stayed true to the ethos of it. I mean, Robert Evans, it makes great cinema. That guy made some of the best films of our time, and he's another lovely gent, who grew up with the Phantom and made this because of what it meant to him. So it wasn't sentimental or sappy. It wasn't about let's create a revisionist. It didn't die a death in a development room with a bunch of millennials, because whatever the equivalent was then, trying to subscribe to dark is modern. It was all about preserving what made this character at its inception, mind you, just like in the middle of the Depression, right? Like, coming, like what it meant, what the purpose of this character really was, and these adventures and stories, and his relationship. This guy had a girlfriend and then a wife and then kids, and he was a very he was an aspirational with no superpowers, and that was the other real cool thing. Yeah, it's like anybody can be the Phantom. It depends how committed you are. You know what I mean? And that's what's cool.
If you're lucky to be the Phantom's life, then you got this ring.
Hello. Look at you with the ring and the thing.
Oh yeah,
Double down.
Oh my!
All right.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mark.
So, well, fantastic. And again, thank you both. Thank you both for your talents, your professionalism, and these performances in this film. And again, you're right. It's an adventure film, and that's the key. I think what you said was the yuppies would have tried to make it an action film just because, oh, well, he's got guns, so he'll blow goons away and stuff like that.
Never kills.
Yes, no. It's so it's like, yeah, like Lone Ranger, like those like those classic heroes shooting out of the hand or shooting something and clunks you on the head, all that fun stuff. And I've always felt like this is the big thing that's missing. We've lost adventure stories. They've gotten absorbed by action films, and I think we could definitely do with something coming back. And our team let me know that we're good to go for audience questions. So let's go ahead and roll our first one. Sure. And this comes from Adrienne, and she wants to know: is there a special book that inspired you?
Who are we asking? Both of us.
You popcorn. Billy, you want to go first? Or Kristy, that's up to you.
God, there's so many. You got to narrow it.
I'm gonna let Billy answer this one.
It depends on like there's a few answers to inspiration, right? So, and there's a chronology in it. Like I would say, while shaping an aesthetic and a career choice and a bit of a fantasy and escape. You know, like Ian Fleming's novels, anything from the canon of the early Bonds. I remember trying to read the Bond, skinny paperbacks in location, like read Dr. No in Jamaica, read Casino Royale in Monaco. Like that was kind of cool. But those inspired. As far as like inspiration and a slightly more some teachings of Yogananda, pretty inspirational. Metaphysical meditations, cool stuff like that, or Unveiled Mysteries by the Saint Germain Press about an ascended master named Saint Germain, which reads like great, fiction, but the authors and a lot of its supporters believe it to be true. So, very exciting stuff. That was inspirational, but, pretty cool.
Very nice. Every time I read Ian Fleming, I don't know if this happened to you, but the way he describes every meal Bond eats in incredible loving detail, I get about a chapter and a half in and I get famished.
And you're eating. And I remember once ordering from room service, figs, yogurt, and coffee, very black. It was horrible. It was a horrible breakfast. James Bond breakfast, horrible. What inspired you, Kristy? I'm sorry. Stretching as much as I can. Have you come up with your answer?
Well, I'm not. I was never a big book reader. I've always had like learning disabilities and dyslexia, so I was not much of a reader in my lifetime, so I can't pull any books out of the air but the one book and I'll just leave it at, I would say the Bible, really. Okay. That's one book that I have read.
That's a book.
And it's easy to read because you can just do little here, little there, and that's always inspired me. So
cool.
Is there any like a non-literary thing that inspire you? Music, art, something that just helps you get in place?
Are you asking me or Billy?
Well, I'm asking
music.
you.
I love music. Music is awesome. I love all kinds of music too. I'm not like just a one music type of person. I love everything. So I love music.
Sure.
Always makes me feel good.
Right on. Adrienne, thank you. Wonderful question to start us off with. What do we have next? From Desiree, do you prefer portraying a good or a bad character?
Kristy. You're always good.
I like both. I like playing both. It's funny, because sometimes you know, you're doing I remember doing Flowers in the Attic. It was such a heavy, 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 heavy story. And like every day you're like, oh my God, this is so depressing. I wish I was doing a comedy right now, you know? So, so I like playing the fun stuff and I like playing dark stuff. I like to mix it up and do both.
Right.
I agree with the balanced, breakfast answer. Bad guys or bad characters are an interesting challenge because I like getting into the psychology and making them, hopefully they're written with some that depth and they're not just devices and obstacles. And if they are, hopefully the director is keen to kind of go there and we start coming up with understanding, not sympathy, but understanding as to what led to, what's the anatomy of this, how does, so it becomes cautionary tale. And then you can also play with levels of humor if they're self-aware or not, they're fun. But honestly, I like good characters because I just feel we really, I don't know, they inspire me. We really need them. I like being
the good guy.
I enjoy it. I enjoy wading right into, again, something that might seem sentimental, not shying from white hat heroics, making that cool just by the sheer commitment to, the joy of heroism.
Right, it was Desiree. Thank you. Wonderful question.
Ava, stop.
What do we have next? Of course. From Andre. Did you happen to be in possession of any props or costumes from the film?
That one goes to Billy.
What are you hiding?
I have nothing.
What do you got in the garage you don't want the folks at Paramount to know about?
I don't have anything, I swear.
Okay.
I have my script. I think I have my original script.
That's cool.
All right. That is cool.
I have a full costume with cowl and gun belt and boots.
And it's in your back pocket because it's so small, right?
It's in my suitcase. I can't bring it with me everywhere.
Okay, yeah.
You never know when the call must be answered, my friend.
Still, that's nice.
Well, I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you kept that because you deserve to keep it.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Andre, thank you. Great one. What do we have next? From Phoenix, what was the hardest part of filming The Phantom?
Take it, kid.
The hardest part? Well, gosh, I don't know what the hardest part is. I mean, sometimes you have good days that are easy, and then you have other days that are a little, more tough to get through. But, gosh, I don't know because it was so fun. I had such a good time.
The craziest part
I don't
was
know.
Agreeing to lock myself into a cage with a live tiger. Walk up
the lion.
It, slap it on the ass, and walk in front of it and climb a cage while he's looking at me like dinner. There's no such thing as a trained wild animal. What an idiot.
Yeah.
When the whole crew's on the other side of real cages at the LA Zoo with their stun weapons, like that's gonna get to them. They're not even in the cage. It was the dumbest thing I ever did, but boy, did it look good.
We did something with the lion. The lion was scary.
On our little romantic introduction to the Bengali, there were two other animal encounters we shot.
A snake.
One was like a boa constrictor around my neck.
Yeah,
that was fun, and that we did in Thailand. And then the other was, which was harked a little bit back to Temple of Doom. In terms of like awareness, not awareness, like it's friendly, it's not friendly. Never saw that snake before in my life, kind of thing. And the other was, I wrestled a lion, and I'm like, where's that footage?
I remember the lion, and they were like, "Oh, he's got a chain, and it's attached to the ground, and he's not, and there's sand over it. And he's not going anywhere. Trust us." It's like, what?
Anywhere he has to jump me, and we do a takedown, and I'm under him, and he still had white makeup on because they brought him back from Africa from Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, wow.
It was another he was the Paramount lion, basically. He's like, so I had a jet lagged lion, who needed a facial, jumping me at the Arboretum, gnawing on my head. I'm like, and I'm pretending like he's my buddy. That was hard and not so
well, when we finally get the special edition we were hoping for.
Yeah, they need to show that.
That would be nice to see if they have that footage. But you think about things like, what was that great moment in Gladiator with the tiger and Russell? Now that was, Tiger was going for him, but those were surgically joined pieces of celluloid. Not here, not in the Phantom, folks. Actor, big cat, big dummy.
Big danger.
Big danger.
Phoenix, thank you. That was a great one. What do we have next? From Joshua. He has read that the Phantom was supposed to be a trilogy. Do you think there will be a part 2 and a part 3 eventually?
Why not?
You know what? I think that's true. If I remember correctly, didn't they have a 3-picture thing in the contract that there could be sequels kind of thing? I think I remember that.
That is true.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't think in our lifetime. I don't know.
I don't know. I think
you never know.
It's a legacy. It's a legacy show. So I think it's a pass the torch. We pop out a little Phantom, and he's probably going to college now, so he's ready to.
That would be fun.
I would take that over the attempt of the TV series back in the double aughts, which I won't call it bad, but it just didn't have the verve, and I'll leave it there. But Joshua, stay tuned.
Yes.
Yes, stay tuned, Joshua.
Don't give up heart, and thank you for your question. What do we have next? From Adrienne. Who was your mentor?
I don't.
Anyone for you?
No, I'm not ready yet. Takes me a little while to think about these. Think up a good answer. Who was my mentor? I mean, so many.
It's easy to say my father, because he was, who embodied all of the stuff you saw in the character. It wasn't so much pulling from the comic as much as my dad's love of adventure and whimsy and being a kind of physical specimen, a good Spartan, but also introducing me to Gene Kelly movies and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. films, and a love of adventure with a twinkle in the eye.
Yeah.
And so William George Zane Sr.
Right on.
was my mentor.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Kristy.
And I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's the same for me. It's definitely, it has to be my mother, 100%.
Nice.
100,000%.
Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. For a gazillion reasons. Oh.
Very nice. Adrienne, thank you. Wonderful question. I think we have time for one more, so let's see if we can roll out on a really good one. And this comes from Joshua. Out of all your iconic roles, which one has stayed with you the most?
For me, it was Buffy. was so indelible, it washed from that little square into mine.
All your iconic roles.
The Phantom. It was the one worth carrying with you. You know, it's not the crazy guys on boats, although I do a few of them. Those are fun, but they don't. You know, you don't want them to linger.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever I've wanted to give somebody a scare, I've loaned them my copy of Dead Calm, and they've brought it back. Yeah, they've and you sell it.
You don't want to carry Huey. Huey, what a name!
Yeah,
Huey home.
It was having that name is what drove him to that.
That's true. Made me so angry. Such a stupid name.
Kristy, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't have I can't. He's saying stayed with you the most, so it's not like which one's your favorite character per se.
Well, yeah,
stayed with me. You know what? I mean, I it's such a small little role, but it's Simone from Ferris Bueller. I just love her because she's just so honest. Like she just says the truth. You know what I mean? And that's just what I just love that about that character. So.
You played her?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's like, who's Simone?
I gotta see that.
Joshua, thank you. Great question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the cast of The Phantom. Kristy, Billy, this has been absolutely wonderful. Any final words for our audience before we go backstage?
Stay noble. Be cool. Dig and be dug.
Fair.
God bless and thanks for being here. And I am hopeful that we answered all your questions. And thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve both of you today. Thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. And thank you all for those great questions. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care. And please keep washing those hands.